Hi guys, good morning. I hope that everyone fared through this storm that lives in the US. I'm really concerned that people are safe. So I wanted to make this episode today because this disaster with hurricanes Milton and Helene brought back a couple of stories regarding the society and disaster relief that I really want to talk about. And I'm going to start with a story. When I was a kid, we actually had our house right next to the Kingdom Hall because my grandpa, he donated some of his property and he helped build. So both the buildings actually looked similar. They were really just very plain white with a black roof, and we were next door to the Kingdom Hall. We ended up going to the foreign language congregation at that time, and what's so crazy about this is like we lived next to the Kingdom Hall, but we went to help foreign language, so we ended up driving 45 minutes. But still, it was our former congregation that was right next door. And we had a pipe break while we were out of town. And thankfully, someone saw the water rising through the window and was able to shut it off so it didn't keep rising. I think they had a key or something. I don't remember. But thankfully, that was a whirly person. And when we returned, it was really horrible because to me, you see every single item that was ruined. It felt like deep hurt to see like your baby pictures and report cards and diaries. You had to drag it all out, but it was ruined, So we were working really hard getting all the stuff out so we can start the process of getting our house back in order. And our Bible study came to help us. And it was like a major thing. Like we couldn't even, like my mom and I lived downstairs and my grandparents were upstairs in the house. So where we lived, everything was ruined, everything. And we're in the middle of, just taking care of this horrible flooding and everything. And the neighbor, the congregation next door, that was our former congregation, they had a meeting. And they came and walked by us and like looked and were like, oh, that's terrible. And then went to meeting. And our Bible study said, aren't you guys going to help? Like we could use people helping. And they said, they actually said, well, they're not in our congregation. And these little things, they stick with you. It hurts because the meeting is more important than actually rolling up your sleeves and helping other Jehovah's Witnesses or humans, They did not help. And actually, our Bible study did not continue studying after that. I think they were appalled. And it always brings back this. We say that you will recognize Jehovah's people, God's people, because they have the greatest love among themselves. But I didn't see that. I didn't see the greatest love. I saw dedication to an organization above love. And it felt really weird. No one from our congregation. I mean, how can you walk by people who have a disaster just to sit at the meeting and listen to the same old story over and over? So that was when I was little. Fast forward to the next disaster that was the flooding in Houston. And the brothers really, really needed help. And my friends, they were pretty well off compared to other witnesses. A lot of the witnesses are very poor. But this family, they had a nice house, nice cars and everything. And they had a brand new trailer. One of those that you travel in and it was decked out. Well, the society asked them personally through the elders if they could basically let the families in Houston that need shelter borrow this new trailer that you could live in, like mobile home or trailer on wheels. And my friends, they were so helpful. They really wanted to do this. They were going to say yes till they basically read the fine print. And the fine print is that the society The Watchtower Society has no involvement, no liability, no anything. You are at fault if something happens on your property. So if you give your brand new trailer to these people that you don't know in Houston that you think they're going to treat it well, but they trash it, too bad. The society doesn't get involved. It's on you. And if these witnesses trip and fall and break their leg, they can sue you. The society has no liability. And that fine print kind of shocked my friends. And reluctantly, they said no. They were like, we can't do this. This is really not okay. They were really shocked that the society won't have your back. They send you on your own. And really, it's a different when people now aren't missionaries as much, where they have the backing of the organization. Suddenly, they started sending people on their own merit to all these countries without health insurance, without monetarily assistance. I have a friend who went to Nepal on his own. The society doesn't have your back when you go on your own. And I was already thinking, that's so mean. Like, wouldn't you you're supposed to help your own. You're supposed to have their back. And right now with the hurricanes, with Milton and Helene, it's the same thing. The society, again, is asking if brothers can borrow their assets or help people, and it's not from them. Like, the governing body is asking its members, oh, can we use your mobile home on wheels, like your trailer, and can other people use it? But we're not going to support you if anything happens. It's so crappy. It should give you pause. And these things, if you look on the website on jw.org, when I go on the main page, nothing there about the disasters. And really, we're a worldwide religion as well. Yeah, in the United States, there's stuff happening right now. But even when there's stuff happening worldwide, it's not on there. And when I go to the church's websites, I know, I'm sure there's fraud. I'm sure there's stuff that isn't right. But there's also churches who really do want to help. I go and I see, like, in Asheville, a pastor said, we're going to open our church and anyone can sleep here. We have food and shelter for anyone. You don't need to be a Christian. I mean, isn't that really like brotherly love? I can't see anybody ever opening the Kingdom Hall to people and handing out food unless the local congregation provides the food. The governing body isn't going to say, here, we're going to send aid from the society. They always trickle things down to the local congregations and to the elders. And yet we send all this money to go to the Watchtower Society. And yeah, sometimes they organize and do help because they have to have a little bit of a PR move. And the other thing that I heard, so my friends up north, they lost their house during a fire and got insurance money. They didn't rebuild. They felt like Armageddon is near. We're going to go and take this money, like our own money, and go to Puerto Rico and help rebuild kingdom halls and houses for people there. So on their own dime, they stopped working and went and helped the JWs in Puerto Rico, which is like a lovely thing to do, except you're doing it on your own dime. You quit working, so you're not paying into Social Security. You're using your money that you had from your house, so you're not rebuilding. You're not going to have a home when you get back. And so they went to Puerto Rico. Now, what I've been reading, and if I could have comments and confirm if this is true or not, because it's very important to stick with people with stories that are true. I don't want to ever have like any false things sticking around. But what I've been hearing is that the society sends people to help these local brothers rebuild their homes and then basically asks if they can have the insurance check written over to them, which at that point, you didn't really need the society to rebuild your home. You had insurance money and could have just hired somebody. And the other thing of this, if this is really true, is that the society is making money off this because they're sending people over who are being hosted by the congregations, who are traveling with their own dime, and yet the society is collecting that check. I mean, if that's true, it's the scam of all scams. And I really am worried about my friends who have been like not working now for 5 years, missing out of Social Security, and don't have a home because they use that money to rebuild. And if you look at Puerto Rico specifically, they helped rebuild all those kingdom halls. And yet in Puerto Rico, they sold a massive amount of kingdom halls in the last few years. So the witnesses help rebuild, use their resources, use their money, time, food to prepare for those workers, and then bam, all those halls are being sold. I'm going to link the video about all the sold kingdom halls below because it's like shocking how many were sold in Puerto Rico specifically. But here in the United States too, we have a ton of halls that were being sold. It's just unbelievable. The other thing that happened regarding a flooding is that I had moved to the South and I was a single mom post-divorce, and we had heavy rains and flash flooding really, really badly. I mean, it was coming up our street, moving toward the house. You could not get through it. Like, I couldn't get to my car to drive through it. And my younger son had a talk that night at the meeting, and I just didn't even know what to do. I'm like, I have to try to stop the water. I have to get sandbags. I need to do something. And I texted the elder, is it the chairman? Is it, or some, the one that coordinates all the talks. And I'm like, hey, there's major flooding going on, and I'm really worried that my house is about to get flooded. So we're not going to be able to go to the meeting tonight. And I sent him a picture of how bad it was. And I got sandbags, and my little kids and I were like hauling sandbags, trying to prepare the house so water won't get in, and like the stress and anticipation before it happens. And you know what the elder wrote back to me? He goes, I'm sorry that's happening. Do you guys need a ride to meeting? Or I could pick up your kid so that he can give his talk. Man, I was like so mad. Like, how dense are these people? How dense that you don't immediately, as an elder, and I'm his sheep, say, this is a single mom with little kids. Hey, how can I help you? Like, let me come help you haul sandbags, right? But no, again, meetings, most important. And then he says, do we need a ride to meeting? No, I don't need a ride to meeting. My house is about to flood you. I mean, really. And then second of all, I don't let my kids go with people. I'm like, no, you're not picking up my kid. He's not going to. Thankfully, I was always very careful with that. But I was just like so offended that a dude even would like ask to give my kid a ride. He was small enough where no way would I have let him go. And where's the help? Like, there was no help. Soon after that, we had another disaster that was in our area, and I really needed help again. And no one from the hall offered help, checked on us, except my one friend. She was, I have to say, she always was very caring, but she was in her 50s. Like, how can she help us? We really needed like immediate attention. And wouldn't you know, the Catholic family from work came and helped me. And it was so embarrassing. I'm like, I can't believe these people, but they had like such compassion for us. They came and in this weather to help me prevent from like flooding again and having damage to the house. They came right away. And I was just like so boiling inside already because I thought, where's my congregation? Like, this is crazy. And Jesus always said like orphans and widows. And I didn't see that. And on top of that, so often it feels like people are forgotten, especially like the lowly ones in the congregation that don't have the status that the elders and pioneers do? Are they really checking on these single sisters, elderly brothers who are on their own? I hope they do. I'm sure there's plenty of congregations that do, but I also know that they do get forgotten sometimes. And those are like your people. That's your your group, your community, and it shouldn't be forgotten. I know my grandparents, when they lived in the Bible Belt, they were the mindset of like, you go to meeting unless basically Jehovah guides the elders and cancel it. And they had terrible, terrible storms. And my grandma was already kind of like, I don't know if we should go, but they didn't cancel meeting. And so grandpa's like, let's go. We're going to go, because they think Jehovah lets them know and has foresight not to go, and then it's canceled. So they traveled the 40 minutes, and it was horrible on the roads. And they ended up getting to the Kingdom Hall, and the meeting was canceled. And my grandparents drove in the storm to the meeting because they were those old timers that just went unless it was canceled. And I know that's on them in hindsight now that we're out. We can see that. But when you are like a devout JW, you take meetings so seriously. And we were so mad, like they didn't call grandma and grandpa, the eldest people in the congregation, and didn't let them know when everyone knew that they were so loyal and always were at every meeting. The elders did not let them know meeting was canceled. It did happen to me in the snow one time too, where they forgot to tell me it was canceled and I drove. Thankfully, I was pretty used to driving in the snow, but we had such bad storms and whoopsie, I was like not told meeting was canceled. I was really pregnant, and I know that you think, well, why would you even go when you're pregnant and there's a snowstorm or blizzard outside? Here's the reason why. The guilt. You're so drilled as a Jehovah's Witness that no matter what, you make it to the meeting. We get these examples in the broadcast and in the literature of people who waded through snake-infested waters with crocodiles and they walked 5 hours and they made it to the meeting. So who are you getting to drive comfortably in a car with heat when there's a little snow? You make it to the meeting. We've had elders in our congregation who said, unless you're dead and dying, you make it to the meeting. So if you decide for the health and well-being of your family and yourself, and instead of using common sense, really, we override it with this brainwashing guilt to always make it to the meeting. And that's really hard to turn off. I'm sure that had to do with my grandparents driving as elderly people, meeting. It's just most important to J-dubs. You make it to the meeting. And really, honestly, if you miss a meeting, my friend always says, there's always another meeting. Like, you don't have to feel guilty. The next meeting is going to be right around the corner. So I hope that we can stop having this guilt, but instead have common sense and stay home during bad weather. If you watch the Leah Remini Scientology series, they kind of do the same thing. They have disaster relief, but it's such a PR stunt. They don't really help people. They just do it for show so that they can look good in the news and look good elsewhere. And meanwhile, at work, when I was going through the divorce, that J-dubs really don't like when you divorce, and nobody's going to really be there for you because it's a little shameful as a J-dub. If you hear my story in the first episode, what we went through, the elders knew, and the elders knew that I had to get divorced, but there was really no help from the congregation. I moved basically by myself with 3 little kids, a disabled mom, and one sister who helped us. Her and I were carrying washer and dryer and everything, but I told someone at work, and he said that his mom, when they were little, she became Mormon. And he's like, I have never seen a community help like the Mormons. They were there. They helped her. She was a single mom. And it was just kind of shocking to hear those stories because I'm like, my experience growing up is that the local brothers, it's always delegated down to the congregation. But from the society, what help is there really? I mean, I don't really see the love coming from the top, the love from the organization, from the governing body, right there, sent in front, are helping people. Even right now, are they saying, oh, all you victims in Asheville, in Florida, we're here, tell us, like, we're here. I don't see it. And that I perceive as lacking love, really, when I see the church is doing so much more than our governing body. So that's my thought to this whole disaster relief. Would love to hear your stories, and talk to you guys soon.